Hey guys, I just wanted to say thank you so much for checking out this episode of Zumundous. This is going to be the last episode for a while, with my passion project Roll for Real launching in just 2 months from today. I've really got to take a step back, and this is a great podcast. I love doing it, but it's just really time consuming to put all of this together for YouTube every week, and I'm missing opportunities to cut, edit, and prepare Roll for Real, and that's really where my heart lies. I will be continuing Zumundo, the pop culture podcast that spun this one off, as an audio format. I'm not going to put them up on YouTube anymore. YouTube didn't really gain a lot of traction, and we get a lot more listens on an audio format than the visual format. So if you want, please, by all means, follow me on any of the platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. They're all there for Zumundo, and I'm going to be continuing doing that. And just as a heads up, Roll for Real, guys, please check it out. I have poured my heart and my soul into this Dungeons and Dragons podcast, and I have created something truly amazing. And I know I'm biased, but you won't regret it. We're really bringing something new to the Dungeons and Dragons podcast table, and I think you'll really like it. So please enjoy this last episode of Zumundous.
It starts like a scene from a folktale. A ranch dog named Buford disappears one morning. When he returns, he's not alone. Trotting beside him is a 2-year-old boy, lost, dehydrated, and miles from home. Buford had somehow found him in the Arizona wilderness and brought him back to safety. But no one trained Buford for this. There was no command, no treat, just a dog who knew that a human needed help. Tonight on Zumundous, we ask the question, what is this bond between us and our dogs? Is it biology, evolution, or something deeper? And welcome to Zumundous Podcast. I'm Doolin, and I'm being joined today by
yours truly, Mr. Matt.
Matt, my man Matt Cotts from That's Fair Podcasting, man. So we had a little bit of a rearranging of schedules this week. Greg wasn't able to make it in, and Keith, of course, is still on his hiatus. So I reached out to my man Matt over here, and he is from That's Fair, and they cover a lot of similar topics. Actually, I think you guys just did you did your show a couple weeks ago on the direwolf situation with the direwolf cloning, and that was something that we had talked about a couple weeks before, and you guys gave us a shout out on it. And you guys are always great over there, man. Like, I love watching your show and listening to you guys. You and Mark and Miles over there. You guys are all great, man. And we talked about the cloning of the direwolves, which you guys chimed in on too, man. And that was a great show.
Yeah, it was. But I actually enjoyed your show. Your show on the direwolves actually kind of helped spawn that. We had originally planned on doing it, but then listening to you guys, as always, you and I have to stay in touch because we're like, well, maybe I'll do this one too, but I got to let you know before we do, because, I don't like, we don't like shadowing each other, but
no, that's cool. We can cover that. I mean, like a lot of the stuff that, we cover here at Zumundous and the stuff that you guys cover over there at That's Fair. Like, there's a lot of overlap and stuff. And it's like, who's to say we can't just both talk about the same thing, man? It's cool. Like, it's all good.
Oh, well, yeah, you're our brother podcast. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, actually, yeah, man. Like, That's Fair, man. That's our brother podcast over there, man. Like, we've done a crossover before with Zumundo and That's Fair, and that was a lot of fun. We're gonna have to do that again at some point, man. That was a blast. But yeah, so we're coming in today, and there was, and I know you saw something about this. This is a little bit closer to where you are. Matt's calling in from Colorado. I'm out here in Florida. But this happened a little bit closer to your neck of the woods, out there in the Arizona wilderness, which I talked about a little bit in the opening there. But there's this crazy thing that happened last month where there was this ranch dog named Buford, and I think he's a Pyrenees, I think. So basically, that the ranch dog's job is just to go out there and patrol, take care of the sheep, look out for, coyote and wildcats and that kind of thing, protect the herd. But one day this dog's got free roam. Like there's nothing keeping him there. He's not in a fence or anything like that. And he just got up and wandered out, and he found this little boy. Like this little boy had gone missing from his home like over 12 hours ago, and somehow had just this he's a 2-year-old toddler, and he had gotten out there I think like 7 miles from home. This kid was like way lost. Toddler, man, he's gonna die of exposure out there, and like for no reason whatsoever. Like this dog, from what I can tell, Buford was not really known for leaving the property and wandering that far away, but I think he wandered 2 miles out, found this kid, kept him warm at night, because as you know, out there, the Arizona desert can get really cold. Found this kid sleeping under a tree, kept him warm, and then the next morning guided him back to his farm. And I think the owner of the ranch, was talking to the kid and said, were you under a tree? And the kid said, yeah, tree. So he was under a tree when he found him. And that territory was like, they had helicopters looking for this kid. There was coyote sighted. There was wildcats that were spotted out there. So like, not a good place for the kid to be, man. Which kind of leads like to the question, like, how was it coincidence, or did this dog just kind of know to go out there and find this kid?
With dogs though, I think we've all had an experience with dogs where we swear to God they had some kind of sixth sense.
Yeah.
I mean, they can, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes they can do some of the dumbest things, but then they can do some of the things that just will baffle your mind.
Yeah.
That like, in fact, the one you just saw, our blonde Cocker Spaniel does things I've never had a dog do before in my life.
Yeah.
So, she plays off our emotions. Like, if whatever our emotions are, she feels
they can read into that
emotion. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So with, like you were saying, with this Scotty Dunton who found him, like you said, he was baffled because this 2-year-old was able to wander 7 miles in a wilderness with that kind of wild animal.
Right.
All the wild animals that were about to have, like you said, Buford. How'd he find him?
Yeah, exactly. Like, how did he know where to go? Like, just out there in the wide open Arizona wilderness.
Is it scent? That's what you said, 2 miles, right?
Yeah, 2 miles. This kid had wandered 7 miles from home, like all said and done. This dog wandered 2 miles out and found this kid, and then brought him 2 miles back in. And like I said, stayed with him through the night, kept him safe, kept him warm, and then just led him back to the ranch where he knew the kid would be safe. And it's wild to think about, man, because and I have my own personal story that I'm gonna share it at the end of this crazy story of like my experience with one of my dogs from back in the day. But this bond that we have, it's the age old thing, man's best friend. But as long as man has been here and civilization has been here, and actually even before recorded civilization, we've had dogs. Like, dogs have been there as mankind has grown as a civilization. Dogs have been there with us, like, every step of the way, going back to anywhere between 20,000 and 40,000 years, like, going back way before the Ice Age. And it started with gray wolves. I'm sure you know this. So gray wolves began kind of interacting with the early human hunter-gatherers, probably because they followed humans, because wherever there was humans, there was scraps, and there was, leftovers near camps and that kind of thing. So the main theory is that tamer wolves got food, humans gained protection by having these wolves near them, and, also early warning systems for like larger predators and stuff. So, so I think that's kind of like, so the bond really does go back. It's safe to say that it's bred into them, because, they've been there as long as we've been there. But some of these other stories are just kind of wild, where you're like, okay, well, some of this stuff kind of goes beyond evolution,
Well, I can't even think of a sane explanation as to how Buford would have found him from you said a 2 mile distance.
2 mile distance. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's not a sane explanation that I could give you that would make me give you any kind of indication I'd know any way he did that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
There's no, like I said, I'm the most skeptical person on my podcast. I am.
Yeah. No, I am. Yeah, I'm skeptical as well.
But there's no explaining this one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we got some more wild stories to get into, man. And we'll talk about it a little bit. But going back to the past, there's some archaeological evidence. Humans buried with their dogs. Dogs found in cave paintings going back 14,000 years. There was a burial that they unearthed in Germany. It's a 14,000-year-old burial. A man was buried with 2 dogs that they found. They found this man buried with 2 dogs going back 14,000 years. That's way before recorded history. There's 11,000 years ago, some of the earliest known dog burials were uncovered. So, I mean, at this point, 11,000 years ago, like, how far does like Mesopotamia go back? What's that, like 4,000, 6,000 years ago or whatever? So this is way before recorded history. We had emotional ties with these dogs. Like they were burying, we were burying our pets even back then. And there was cave paintings in Spain and Saudi Arabia that were found. So it goes into like, did we choose dogs or did they choose us? And I feel like there was a link there from the beginning that dogs understood, or early wolves, whatever, because all dogs are descended from wolves. Wolves understood that there was something there. There was a greater bond to be shared. Right.
Mm. No, I completely agree. And especially like you said, because ultimately we're talking, you said wolves are part of, I would assume, the canine species.
Right.
Just right. Mm-hmm. And so like, as you know, as evolution, as it goes down farther and farther, like some things change, but like dogs don't seem to change.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
There's temperaments, there's temperaments within breeds and stuff like that, but the core is the same. Mm-hmm. And there's some of the things that I researched. Here's a couple stories, and there's a lot of remarkable like fictional stories out there, but they come from a real place. So, I'll cite characters, fictional dogs like Lassie, Old Yeller, stories like Where the Red Fern Grows, and Homeward Bound.
Start making us cry. I know,
right? Yeah. No. It's exactly it. Actually, and I was looking into that, and these are like some more recent tales of dogs kind of stepping up. Now, these don't defy explanation or anything like that, and I'll get into that in a minute. But I found some remarkable tales about some of the things that hero dogs stepping up and saving their owners. One I found was from September 11th. On September 11th, in the World Trade Center, there was a blind man that was in the tower when the second plane hit, and he was blind. Elevators were out, and he had to go over 1,000 steps downstairs. As soon as the plane hit, the dog took him, led him down, and they got out before the tower collapsed. Like,
how
like,
does that dog even know?
Yeah, like he doesn't have like a concept of what's happening right now. The dog just said, you need to be out of this building. Let's go. We're getting you out of here.
I mean, it's like the dog doesn't know that the supports are going to give out. The building is going to collapse. I mean, there's so many different variables that make you wonder how the hell that dog even knew that.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a couple of tales of bravery, and this doesn't like I said, we're not even bordering on like supernatural or anything like that, but there was a tale I read of a 14-year-old dog fighting off a bear that charged her owners. This dog was 14 years old. Like, she was old, man, and she happy ending. She got the bear to go away. She got injured, but she recovered and everything. But that was a couple years back in 2010 in British Columbia. A golden retriever, and you've seen golden retrievers, man, they're the sweetest dogs in the world, went after a cougar that was about to attack a child. And this golden retriever fought off a cougar. If you've seen a cougar, man, they are not to be toyed with. So,
no.
But these are like they're tales of bravery and heroism, but they don't really go into like, how did the dog know? Kind of like, that's instinct, like dogs are pack animals, just like we're kind of pack animals too. We just call our packs family, but dogs understand.
It sounds like a bad Ben Diesel movie.
You don't need kibble when you've got family.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. But this one is kind of heartbreaking, man. So this is a story. This goes back to like the 1920s and 30s, I think. There was a dog named Hachiko, I think was his name.
In Japan.
Japan. Did you read this?
Yes,
it's heartbreaking, man.
This is horrible.
It's heartbreaking, but also kind of heartwarming at the same time. But
it is. But...
So this Hachiko was an Akita, And every day his master would get on the train and go to work. And I mean, so this is like, a small town in Japan back in like the 1920s and 30s. So, the dog would just wait at the train station for him, and not really a big deal. But his owner died at work one day, and this poor dog sat there would refuse to leave, sat there at the train station for 9 years. And the locals just started taking care of the dog, because the dog wouldn't leave. So they fed him, made sure he was taken care of and everything. But that dog stayed there for 9 years until he finally died. And it's a kind of very reminiscent of, you ever watch Futurama?
I have. The guys on the podcast talk about it.
Yeah. There's a thing in Futurama, Fry gets into the time, or he gets frozen in the time capsule or whatever, and he thaws out 1,000 years in the future or whatever. But then they do an episode where they go back, and his dog didn't know that he wasn't coming home, and his dog just stayed there on the street corner waiting for him until he died. And it's very depressing. It's like one of the saddest moments of Futurama I've ever seen in my life, and I still to this day, I'm like, that was so wrong what they did. But this is kind of like the real life version of Fry's dog. This poor dog sat there for 9 years waiting for his owner to come home, man. I mean, so that just, once again, not really in the realm of the supernatural, but just in the realm of the loyalty that they have for their owners, man. So there really is a deeper bond there.
Well, and it kind of ties into the fact that you'll be watching a movie and there's an animal like a dog close to the human.
Yeah.
Your first question is, does the dog die? Because if the dog's dying, I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah.
You don't care if the people in the movie die.
Dude. So there's it's kind of like a funny story. Here's my thing. I'll watch a good horror movie. I like a good slasher movie.
Oh, yeah.
Some people going around getting stabbed, whatever. It's, it's all in fun because it's a slasher film. But there was a Jason movie, and I forget what's the name of the actor that played Jason Voorhees. Kane Hodder, I think his name was.
Hodder, yeah.
Kane Hodder, and they were doing the scene where where Jason Voorhees is coming in, and he's going to kill everybody in the house, and the director said okay, we're going to do this scene where you go over and there's a dog and he's barking at you, and we're not going to show you killing the dog, but you're just going to stomp, and we're going to hear the dog whimper and then stop. And Kane Hodder was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to, he goes, I'm not even going to pretend to kill the dog. And he's like, just write the dog out. I'm not killing the dog.
No, that's great. Yeah. That's funny. But, because Kane Hodder, I believe, was Jason. We had recently lost someone. What was it? Lar Park Lincoln from Part 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Kane Hodder was Jason in Part 7. I remember
he was Jason for most of the films, I think.
Right. Mm-hmm. But that's how I know Kane Hodder. But it's like I said, when it comes to dogs in movies, we watched a Channing Tatum movie just called Dog.
Yeah.
Oh, it's have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Oh my God. I'm not going to say anything, but check it out. Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum Dog. Okay. All right. Right on.
It's awesome.
All right. Well, here's some more stories that kind of go into the kind of crazy. Now let's talk about some of the weird stuff where we ask the question okay, how did the dog know? And I'll start with the least, probably the least miraculous of them, and that is and I only have cliff notes for these. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail. There was there's a woman's dog kept persistently sniffing and pawing at this mole on her body. And when she went to go check it out, it was melanoma. She had skin cancer, and the dog was trying to tell her, go, this is not okay. This thing on your skin needs to get looked at. The dog, she didn't know, but the dog knew. So ask the question, how did she know that? I don't know if you heard the story of Xander the Husky. Xander the Husky was in New York, and Xander's owner was hospitalized miles away. Xander escaped the house, navigated 2 miles of unfamiliar roads to the hospital where his owner was being taken care of. Nobody knows how Xander found it. There was no scent trail, no guidance, and the dog had never been there before, and the dog had to cross highways to get there. How?
Again, there's no sane or rational explanation for me to give you any.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's the thing. And that's something that we try to explore on this, like, and we're not at the end of the show or whatever, but like at the end of the show, me and Keith would always say, like, is this rational, debunked, or more explanation needed? And I'm like you, I'm a skeptic, but a lot of times my answer is either debunked or more information needed. But on that one, that's rational. Like, there's the dog had no way of knowing where his owner was, and yet he just went 2 miles directly to the hospital where his owner was, and that's wild.
And you originally pitched the idea of Buford and then the spirituality between dogs and humans,
right?
And like you, I'm skeptical when I hear spirituality. I'm like, Sheldon, that's hokum. But the thing is like when it comes to dogs, though, I can't disbelieve any of it.
Yeah, no, and I can't either, man. Because I mean, and like I said, when we get to the end, I'm gonna tell you my story, and it's gonna blow your mind. But there was Prince the collie. Now this was in Canada in the 1960s. Prince's owner was in a serious car crash. Prince was in the car with his owner, and Prince was not injured in the car crash, but his owner was pretty badly injured. Prince ran 4 miles to the nearest town for help, led rescuers back to the snowy forest to the wreck where his owner was saved from freezing to death. So this dog was like immediately just knew, I'm going to go this direction to get, like, that's a Lassie moment. Like, hey, what do you say? Timmy's in the mine?
Yeah. But still, though, I mean, again, it's gonna have everyone when they hear this.
Yeah.
People listening to you hearing those stories are gonna be like, how?
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna want to know how.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it's wild, man.
I don't know if it's a spiritual bond. I mean, do you know anything more loyal than a canine?
No, I don't. Not at all. Mm-mm. Yeah, because I mean, like a canine doesn't like it's, like I said, we have, love for our family, for our friends and stuff like that. But we talk about the concept of unconditional love. And, and we all say, well, I love someone unconditionally, but you don't really. Like, our love for our friends and our family definitely has conditions. You know what I mean? Like, it's, if our spouse or, somebody that we love cheats on us or, is running an affair or whatever, chances are that love is going to stop. So that's a condition. You know what I mean? Like, it's a rational condition, yes, but it's a condition. A dog doesn't think like that. They don't have those same sort of conditions for giving loyalty and love.
Even when you come home and they can smell someone else's dog on you, and there's
you've been cheating on that bitch.
I know, that's our first thing is, yes, I cheated on you. I'm sorry. But they smell that, I mean, and like, it's insane.
There was here's another crazy story of heroism, man. There was a dog in the UK. This was a bull terrier. There was a 10-year-old boy that was in the path of an oncoming truck. This dog, not even thinking twice about it, ran forward, rammed the boy out of the way, and then took the truck. And the dog survived, actually. So yeah, but it was a miraculous survival, but the dog survived it. But there's, I mean, and I could go on and on, but there's tons of these stories about, like, we think that dogs don't have this greater understanding of the world as we know it. But when they exhibit some of these things, you come to realize that they do have a greater understanding. And what is that understanding? Because, I mean, it's this weird thing where okay, so they've done studies with dogs. Dogs just see us as other dogs. Like, they don't recognize that we're like a different creature. So as far as they know, like, we're just pack to them. Right. Cats recognize that we are not cats. But dogs don't have that recognition. So with that, like, limited recognition, without even being able to recognize that we're not the same creatures as they are, like, how do some of these things come to happen where it's like this weird, they have a greater understanding of the world when they need to, you know what I mean? And there's no real explanation for it. Like, like Buford, like the dog that could detect cancer, or like the dog that led his owner out of the building on September 11th. They shouldn't be able to understand that, but yet somehow they do.
Which makes it to where we can't understand it.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, like cats, you said cats can recognize us as not being cats. They see us more as their serving staff.
Right.
But I mean, let's be honest. But like dogs, there's just nothing like I mean, and you have a dog, right? I
No,
assume,
no, no,
or
no, 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 I don't.
okay. Well, like when you come, but you probably did as a kid, and you remember it all. I
Oh yeah,
mean,
I've had
because I
I've
know
had
you have
I've had a couple of dogs
yeah.
before. Yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely.
was there nothing like coming home to it? Like you want to
Oh
talk
yeah.
about a crazy story? Have you ever seen the short videos of that dog literally sobbing over the grave of
Yeah,
like a soldier?
I have seen that. Yeah.
Yes,
That's so like it's so sad.
it is. But then
Yeah.
again, it's like that's why you hear it 1,000 times.
There was
People,
actually
I'm one of them.
there was a story 2006 since you brought that up, I'll tell you this. There was a dog called
Okay.
Capitan. Capitan was a dog in Argentina, and in 2006 his owner died. Capitan was a German shepherd, and he did like he still lived with the family after his owner died. Capitan disappeared from the house, and when they found him, he was living at the cemetery, just sleeping on his owner's grave. Now, nobody had shown him where his owner's grave was. Capitan just knew where it was and just went to sleep on the grave of his owner. Like, and that was in 2006. That's wild, man. Like,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I couldn't. Again, there's no rational explanation.
no.
There's not. I mean, you can sit there and try to get all scientific with it,
Mhm.
but I don't know how much they've actually opened up a dog's brain and seeing what was inside. As far as,
They've done some tests and things like that. Like they can hook up like electrodes to a dog's brain and judge based on like response some of the things they understand and some of the things they don't understand. But here's all right. I'm gonna tell my story, and this is when I've been sitting on this one for a while. This is kind of a crazy story. So this is back in 2012, and I was living in North Carolina with it was my then wife, my now ex-wife, and I noticed one morning I had a little beagle named Mojo. I'd had her since high school, and when I moved up to North Carolina, she came with me. She lived in the house, and she was getting old, and she was kind of slowing down. And one morning, she wasn't responsive. Like, she'd look at me, but it's like I could just tell. I'm like, oh my God, you're on your way out the door, and she was really old, and I could have rushed her to the vet, but I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. We're just going to sit here, you and me. And I sat with her for the rest of the afternoon, and then within a few hours, she had gone. She was passed. And I knew it was going to happen. It was fine. I'd rather go that way than have to take her into the vet.
yes.
So I called home, and my parents, when I was off, like, going to college and stuff like that, and I was living somewhere else, she stayed with my parents. So, home was home for her. And I called my parents and I told them, hey, I got some bad news. Mojo's passed away. And my mom said, I'm really sorry to hear that. And she told my dad after she got off the phone with me, and my dad just he turned white. He's like, what the hell? And I found out later, it was actually the night, it was so strange. It was the night before she died. My dad was walking down the hall past my old bedroom back where I was a kid and I lived in there and stuff. And, the door to my bedroom was open, and he saw out of the corner of his eye, he looks over and he saw Mojo laying on my bed. And his initial reaction, because Mojo had lived there for years, so right. He was just he just kind of rolled his eyes and thought dog's on the bed again, and he takes 2 steps. He goes, wait a minute, Mojo doesn't live here anymore, and he goes and he turns and he looks back in the room and she's not in there. And he was just like, okay, my mind's just playing tricks on me. Like that's so weird. But then when the next morning, when I called and I said, Mojo's passed away, my dad said, that's so weird. Like, I saw her in the house last night. So it's it was almost like somehow she projected herself. That sounds crazy to say it out loud, but somehow she projected herself back
Not
home.
with a dog.
Yeah. Like just to say, hey, I'm going to go soon. I just want to say goodbye, you know?
Oh, that's gut wrenching though.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is and it isn't, you know, like it was, it's kind of sweet if you think about it, you know, but you know, the next morning she was gone and, you know, I buried her under a tree and, you know, I said my goodbyes, but yeah, but that's like, did my dad really see that the night before? You know, I don't know.
Well, I mean, you know damn well if he turned white and was freaking out, then, I mean, you have to say yes.
Yeah.
I mean, there was something to it.
Yeah.
There's just no way to play it off like that was just nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and this won't take any time, but I had a blonde Cocker Spaniel growing up, and we'd go out in this field, and her name was Missy Keene, and we always went out, and she would always find tortoises, you know, the land turtles.
Okay. Do you like to dig for them?
Oh, yeah, and she'd find them.
Yeah.
We'd always do that. Well, there was one time I was in school, and I was like in second grade. I came home. She had like 6 or 7 of them in the front yard, and she sat there waiting for me.
Yeah.
And when one would crawl off, my mom said she watched her. She'd grab it with her mouth, pick it up, and put it back in the group, and literally waited for me to get home.
Oh, that's funny.
So
she was like, Matt's going to appreciate this.
Yeah. There's just certain memories, man. But, you know, to tie into what you originally said, bro, I mean, you know, I don't believe in spiritual bonds and all that, but when it comes to dogs, man, I am not going to ever discredit any of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And
it's an unconditional, undying loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so.
And it's like, I think I've seen a couple of people say we don't deserve dogs, and I absolutely agree with that. And then a couple of people, I've seen like a funny kind of prayer, if you will, that says, "Oh Lord, please help me be the type of person that my dog thinks that I am."
Well, and the one that I hate seeing, bro, on any social media site, you'll see a dog in heaven with like a little halo over, basically telling the owner it's okay to get another dog.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Have you seen those?
Yeah, I have. I have.
Yeah, that's just gut wrenching. I don't. Yeah. Yeah, we have a little shrine to one of our dogs we lost a couple of years ago. We started a wall shrine that we're going to do for every animal we have.
Oh,
but
nice.
The dogs are the ones that hurt. They hurt the most, man. The dogs. So.
Yeah. I you know, I had one couple of years ago. She passed. Not Mojo, but there was another one that I had a couple of years ago, and you know, Bella's gone. And all I did was I have little stuffed animals that are a chocolate lab and a beagle, and that, you know, that resemble Bella and Mojo. Right. And then at Christmas, they stay in a box, and at Christmas they come out and they sit under the tree at Christmas so that they can be with us for the holidays. And
it makes sense, man.
Yeah.
It makes
sense. But I don't want any more pets after that. Like, I'm like, it's just, you know, they're here for such a short amount of time, and I don't like saying goodbye, you know?
I hate it, but they say it's so good for you. You know, like having dogs is supposed to be so good for your health. I mean, obviously, especially if you have cancer.
Yeah, yeah, obviously. The early cancer detector, man. How? We don't know.
And by the way, on a different topic,
go ahead.
Bingham wanted me to tell you, he loves
your boy Bing Bing
Roll for Real room.
Oh, thanks,
he loves
brother.
the Roll for Real room. Yeah, it's badass. Man.
Thanks, man.
Seeing the bricks in the background.
Yeah. I'm in my dungeon room right now. This is where I record. You're going to be in here next. When are you coming in? It was.
It's going to be in 9 months.
Okay, 9 months, man. Sweet, man. Well, you will sit in this room with me, and we will do a podcast together, man. It's going to be awesome. And
I will be definitely down for that, man.
And we'll have to record some stuff in there to put you in Roll for Real too, because I'm super pumped about that. We got a little shameless plug. We got Roll for Real that's coming out, and we got about just about 2 months and change. First 2 episodes are gonna drop, and then it'll be every other week after that. Man, we put so much heart and so much work into it. And it's such a beautiful story that we're telling, man. Like it's moving in all the right places. Like you're gonna laugh, you're gonna cry in some places. Like we've been doing episodes where I literally had to pause it because I was in tears. Like I'm like, oh, I can't believe you players are doing this to me, man. I'm gonna freaking cry. But
that's some good D&D right there.
Yeah, that is good D&D, and it's going to be a good show. Sorry about the shameless plug, man, but also
no, man, no, I expected it. I did plug it.
Yeah, but also let me plug my boy here, Matt, over there at That's Fair Podcasting, man. If you like this type of topic, they do a lot of the same stuff with the mysteries of the supernatural and the true crime dramas. and just the unexplained and just everything between that and Mysteries of the Universe and everything in between, man. Go over there and check them out. If you like us, you'll love them.
Thank you for that. And I'm looking forward to the summer, brother. I'm waiting for Roll for Real because I've listened to some D&D podcasts and they go stagnant, but I'm ready for this one.
This one's definitely going to be better, man. I did my research.
Oh, I'm ready, man. I'm ready.
Well, let's go ahead and bring the show to a close, and I'll say this for you. There are some animals that we love, there are some pets that we treasure, but dogs seem to speak a language only hearts can understand. Whether it's evolution, divine design, or one hell of a cosmic coincidence, the bond between humans and dogs isn't just about companionship, it's about connection, be it spiritual, emotional, and maybe even supernatural. For Zumundous, I'm Doolin.
And I'm Matt.
And I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for hanging out with us. Woo! That was a good time. Matt, thanks for joining us today, brother.
No, thank you so much, man. This was an honor, man. I really enjoyed this time.
Yeah.